Excelente, muy buenos días, buenos días. ¿Cómo están todos? ¿Están bien? Sí.
Sí.
Bueno, tengo algunos quehaceres que terminar antes de... van a llegar 6 personas aquí a mi casa, 6 personas, ¿sí? Todos mis suegros,
Oh,
casi todos mis suegros vienen a Arizona para visitar.
de
Conmigo, con mi
Florida,
esposo. Ah, y tenía que limpiar todo en la casa, todo completamente en la casa. Guy. Ok. Bueno, es la última clase de la temporada de invierno for winter season. This is the last form of class, so don't expect to use this link for next week because there won't be a class. But we're going to finish up with some things. We're going to have the practice that was requested with the participles, but we're going to start with a warm up. Para que sepan, so everybody knows, we're going to start with a warm up that's an easy activity. We're going to go into the participle practice, and that's going to take two different um, modes of practice. And we will, oh, and I have to get rid of one tab because I'm not going to use it. And we'll take your questions, if you have any, on the video for the week. Okay. And who knows what else we may fit in. Depende.
sí,
Um,
get up there, that's fine.
Bien, vamos a empezar.
They will have to
We're going
reboot
to
it.
start with some shadowing. We're going to finish up our reading on bodas, las bodas in China, weddings in China. Wow. Uh, sí, bien. And I believe we had stopped at this heading. Oh, yeah, because pregnancy makes you smarter. Gee, who knew? Uh,
Ah,
yeah, that was the last tail end there. Ok. Y el subtítulo aquí, no tenemos mucho que leer, es muy poco. Um, El subtítulo dice, algunas empresas parecen ansiosas por cumplir la normativa. La normativa es como regulation, rules, ¿sí? Algo que es mandatorio, ¿sí? Algo que, algo que todos tienen que hacer, algo que todos tienen que seguir. Es así. Some companies seem anxious to follow the norms, follow the rules. Ok. ¿Quién quiere empezar leyendo conmigo? Who wants to start reading with me some shadowing reading here? Alguien. Anybody. Don't all jump at once. Ok, Mariana. Bien. Vale. Bueno, la empresa química
la empresa química
les mandó
les mandó
este aviso
este aviso
a los empleados solteros
a los empleados solteros
de entre 28
de entre 28
y 58 años,
y 58 años,
incluidos los divorciados.
incluidos los divorciados.
Sí. The chemical company sent this aviso can be an ad, a publication, an announcement. Yeah, sent this announcement to single employees between 28 and 58. Wow, 58. Okay. Uh, Even the divorcees.
Divorcees.
Sí. No responder a la llamada del país,
No responder a la llamada del país,
no casarse y tener hijos,
no casarse y tener hijos.
Es desleal,
Es desleal,
dijo el anuncio.
dijo el anuncio.
Ah. Uh, not
Um,
responding to the call of the country, not getting married and having kids is disloyal, said the announcement. Ha ha ha, bien. Ok. Bueno, Carrie, ¿quieres continuar? Sí, aquí un poco.
Sí,
A medida que
a medida que
crecía el ridículo en Internet,
crecía el ridículo en Internet,
la empresa dio marcha atrás
la empresa dio marcha atrás
rápidamente.
rápidamente.
Yeah. Uh, as ridicule on the internet was growing, the company took a step backwards. Dar marcha is to move forward. Marcharse is like irse, to take off, to go somewhere, right? But dar marcha is to move forward. But now we add this idea of atrás, which is backward. Dio marcha atrás, took a step backwards, took a step back. Quickly. Okay. Una mujer. Perdón, Carrie. Una mujer en sus oficinas
Sus oficinas
respondió
respondió
que se había retirado del aviso.
did I say respond? que
Que,
se,
que
que
se
había
había
retirado del aviso.
el aviso, sí, el aviso, okay? A woman at their offices responded that the advertisement had been retracted. Retirar, a veces, retirar sometimes in some countries is used as retired. I prefer jubilado, but, it depends on what area you're in. But retirar also means to retire or withdraw something to take back. Whether it's money, withdrawing from a course, withdrawing from a project, whatever that might be. Okay. Se negó a responder
Responder
a más preguntas.
a más preguntas.
Uh, they refused to respond to more questions. No fue posible
No fue posible
ponerse en contacto
ponerse en contacto
con los funcionarios locales
con los funcionarios locales
de trabajo
de trabajo
para que hicieran comentarios.
para que hicieran comentarios.
Bien, sí. It was not possible to get in touch. Ponerse en contacto is to put yourself in contact. So we would say get in touch. It was not possible to get in touch with local bureaucrats at the office, or local funcionarios is anybody who does a specific job. Yeah. Um, officials, we might say officials in English, local officials at the job, so that they might make comments. That hicieran is that odd looking, what they call a past subjunctive. And para que always requires that you have a subjunctive after that. And because we're putting it in the past, no fue posible, it was not possible. We need not a present, but a past subjunctive. So that's why it becomes that odd looking form that is hicieran, that they might make comments. Vale, bueno. ¿Quién quiere continuar? Who'd like to keep going here? Un poquito más. Okay, Kathleen, sí. Hace años,
Hace años,
cuando las autoridades chinas
cuando las autoridades chinas
querían limitar
querían limitar
los nacimientos,
los nacimientos,
recurrían
recurrían
a medidas coercitivas,
a medidas coercitivas
como abortos forzados
como abortos forzados
y esterilizaciones.
y esterilizaciones.
Bien, bien. Hiciste bien. You did well. Years ago, when Chinese authorities wanted to limit births, yeah, they recurrían, they resorted, yeah, they resorted to coercive measures like forced abortions and sterilizations. Ahora que Pekín
Ahora que Pekín
intenta hacer lo contrario,
intenta hacer lo contrario,
adopta un enfoque
adopta un enfoque
más suave,
más suave,
quizá para evitar
quizá para evitar
desencadenar
desencadenar
una resistencia
una resistencia
a gran escala.
a gran escala.
Okay. Y Peking, yeah. Now that Peking is trying to do the opposite, intenta hacer lo contrario, is trying to do the contrary. We would say trying to do the opposite thing, meaning instead of discouraging births, encouraging births, right? It's adopting a softer focus, a softer approach, yeah? Perhaps to avoid unleashing resistance on a big scale, a gran escala, large scale, yeah? Bueno, otra empresa escribió
Otra empresa escribió
en noviembre
en noviembre
en las redes sociales
en las redes sociales
que pronto prohibiría
que pronto prohibiría
a los empleados
a los empleados
el intercambio
el intercambio
de precios de las novias,
de precios de las novias,
pagos
pagos
a veces de decenas de miles de dólares
a veces de decenas de miles de dólares
que un hombre entrega
que un hombre entrega
tradicionalmente
tradicionalmente
a la familia
a la familia
de su futura esposa.
de su futura esposa.
Okay, there's a really long sentence there. Another company wrote in November on social media, right? Remember, redes sociales means social networks, so we would say social media. That soon it will be forbidden. Prohibir, and that word is a tough one to do. Prohibir. We have to ignore the H, the H in the middle. Prohibir. Prohibiría. Would prohibit. This is what they call a conditional tense, and it's the what if kind of tense, yeah. Soon, it would be prohibited that employees exchange precios de novias, bride prices. There's probably not a good way to translate that. Payments, sometimes in the dozens, decenas, dozens of thousands of dollars that a man hands over traditionally to the family of his future wife. Poor guy. Wow, we thought that the whole dowry thing was bad. Pretty bad when you got to pay as the guy. Ok. Bueno, ¿quién quiere continuar? Anybody want to take over here? Bueno, Marcos, magnífico, magnífico. Notan que
Notan que
esto hace el matrimonio
Esto hace el matrimonio
inasequible.
inasequible.
And we're taking that word in isolation because it's a word you're not likely to use in conversation a lot. Inasequible, inaccessible. They note that this, the payment of the bride prices, that this makes matrimony inaccessible. Los empleados
Los empleados
tampoco van a invitar
tampoco van a invitar
a sus bodas
a sus bodas,
a más, sí, a más invitados
más invitados
de los que
que los que
llenan 5 mesas.
llenan 5 mesas.
Wow, they're really cutting back the whole wedding thing. Employees are neither are employees going to invite to their weddings more guests than what can fill 5 tables. Wow. Okay. Las compañías
Las compañías
tienen la estrategia,
tienen la estrategia
muy bien, de reducir
reducir
los costos tradicionales
los costos tradicionales
de las bodas.
de las bodas.
Companies have the strategy of reducing traditional wedding costs to encourage them to get married. Por otro lado,
Por otro lado,
there is our phrase that means on the other hand. Yeah, instead of using hand, la mano, to say on the other hand, they use the word lado, which means side. Por otro lado, el gobierno prefiere
el gobierno prefiere
crear presión social
crear presión social
para tener hijos.
para tener hijos.
On the other hand, the government prefers to create social pressure to have kids. Si las personas temen ser
Si las personas temen ser
excluidas
excluidas
de sus comunidades
de sus comunidades
o perder sus empleos,
o perder sus empleos.
You know what? When we combine some of those vowels, it makes it hard to pronounce. Empleos. Es más probable
Es más probable,
que sí, pero es más probable que obedezcan.
que obedezcan.
Bien, bien. If people fear being excluded from their communities or losing their jobs, it's probable that they will obey. And here we've got a present subjunctive. These kind of phrases, it's probable that, es probable que, it's probable that somebody does something. Es probable que is what they call, these are just phrases that start with es and an adjective. They're impersonal phrases. Impersonal phrases like es probable, es imposible, es posible, es mejor, even es mejor, it's better. When we use a que and we connect an activity that somebody does, we name the person, and here it's just they, meaning the employees. We need to put that into what they call subjunctive. So that's why obedecer becomes obedezcan. Es probable que obedezcan. It's probable that they'll obey. We don't really know if they will obey. Okay, these impersonal phrases, es and an adjective and que, when we conjugate that verb for a person, that second verb has to go into subjunctive. We'll talk more about subjunctive next session, but that's a big topic. Algunos dicen
Algunas dicen
que el gobierno
que el gobierno
puede ejercer,
puede ejercer
una presión
una presión
más directa
más directa
sobre sus propios empleados.
sobre sus propios empleados.
Bien. Some say that the government can exercise more direct pressure over, here sobre, could be on or over their own employees. Bien, fantástico. Ok, Nora, ¿quieres leer? ¿Sí? La última parte, ¿sí? No quería interrumpir tu desayuno. I did not want to interrupt your breakfast. Ok. Bien. Ah, fantástico, ¿sí? El año pasado
El año pasado
se difundió en Internet
se difundió en Internet
un documento
un documento
de la Comisión de Salud
de la Comisión de Salud
de Guangzhou.
de Guangzhou,
No sé cómo se pronuncia Guangzhou, no sé cómo se pronuncian las ciudades de China. Ciudad del sur de China.
Ciudad del Sur de China.
Sí. Last year, a document was put out on the internet, on the web, from the Health Commission of Guangzhou, city in the south of China. En este se pedía
En este se pedía
a los empleados
a los empleados
que los organismos
de los organismos
gubernamentales.
gubernamentales.
And that's why we took that word by itself. That is a
It's
tough
easier
word.
to read
Yeah.
than to say it.
Governmental, su gubernamentales. Wow. Es mucho. Que tomaran la iniciativa,
Que tomaron la iniciativa
¿sí?, en la aplicación
en la aplicación
de la política
de la política
de los tres hijos.
de los tres hijos.
Okay. And notice this. This is kind of a way in Spanish that is very, very common of expressing a passive voice idea. Employees were asked. The se pedía is the were asked to do something. In this, in este, and this word este is referring back to documento. Yeah.
Right.
Documento is a masculine word, so we call it este in this one, meaning the documento. In this, employees were asked by government organisms, organizations to take the initiative in the application of policy of 3 children. So they used to have a 1-child policy. Now they've got a 3-child policy, which is 3 times the work for those parents, of course. Yeah, every time you have 1 extra kid, actually, it's not just 1 extra bit of work. It's like, yeah, it multiplies. Everybody who knows kids have. This word politica can mean politics, but in this context, it means policy.
Oh,
Yeah, politica can also mean a policy, and policy is connected to politics. So that, yeah, not too hard a thing to remember, but just remember when you hear the word politica, it might be talking about politics, but depending on the context, this is not the politics of 3 kids, it's a policy of having 3 kids. Es todo lo contrario
es todo lo contrario
de la famosa política
de la famosa política
del hijo único,
del hijo único
que comenzó en 1980.
que comenzó en 1980.
Sí, 1980. Bien, this is completely opposite from the famous 1-child policy that began in 1980. Okay, bien. Hicieron bien. You guys did well. Okay. Adelante.
As always, who's going to pay for those children?
Well, yeah, boy, that is a big, big change from what was done in the past. But apparently, they don't have enough workers to fill the factories and enough workers to, put into the funding for the, for the social policies of the party for the country.
Y no tienen,
Providing for all the elderly folks that will be there with not very many young folks to take care of them. So,
y no tienen suficiente mujeres.
Sí,
sí, cuando la población empieza a bajar, ¿sí? Y no tenemos más jóvenes para trabajar, para cuidar a los ancianos, causa muchos problemas en todos los países, ¿sí? Y lo mismo pasa en Italia. En Italia, por favor, en España, necesitan más trabajadores. Y por eso en España, por ejemplo, en España, la inmigración de la gente, por ejemplo, que vienen de África para trabajar, es bastante popular en algún sentido, en certain way. En España, porque necesitan más personas para trabajar, ¿sí? Y en España, donde el gobierno tiene como un sistema de salud universal para pagar los costos de los hospitales y todo, necesitan más trabajadores para pagar en el sistema, ¿sí? Y así es, así depende de la población de un país. Ok, bueno. Adelante. Vamos a repasar y practicar esto de los participios pasados. We're going to take a few steps to work little by little, poco a poco, with this bit of past participles and figuring out how do we use them, and how to use them is always kind of a bit challenging because we use these past participles in different ways. Yeah. So we're just going to do a quick review with some things here. Y perdón, se me olvidó. I had forgotten to pull up the correct screen. So I'm trying to get that fixed. Vale. Un repaso. ¿Qué es un participio pasado? What is a past participle? A past participle in English is, well, same thing. Actually, sometimes it does the same thing in English, so you have something to draw on with that at times. In English, we have generally ed at the end of a verb form to form a participle, but which is the same thing we use for past tense. But in English, we have lots of very, very lots of irregulars, and Spanish has a fair number of irregulars as well. I think not as many as English does, to be very honest. Sometimes in English, we don't use ed, right? Like we don't say, I have drived. I have driven. Yeah, I have driven. And yeah, we've got lots of irregulars. So we have fewer in Spanish, but we're going to review what regular ones look like and what irregular ones look like. and then the two different paths that these participles will take. Bien, okay. Here is the regular formation of the past participle. We look at a verb, and an AR verb gets this ending, ado, right? And we don't have like a yo, a tú, and el, ea, usted form for these. They are just one form. Okay, so that traditional way that we have to think in Spanish of conjugating for who does the action, that's the job of the haber part of a compound tense. So now we're looking at, like, why do we have these? We have these because these words work together with the verb haber. Okay, so if the participle is used as a perfect tense, present perfect, I have eaten, for example, or past perfect, I had eaten, right? It's the eaten part, but in this case, it'd be hablado for AR verbs. ER and IR verbs take ido as the ending, like comer, comido, vivir, vivido, llamar, llamado, leer, leído. And notice with leer, when we've got the EER, you take off the ER to put on the ido, but that first E stays there. So it's not lido, it's leído. Leído, and sentir, sentido. Bien, so those are regular participle formations. Ado and ido, not too hard to remember, and they don't go into different forms, right? They don't go into tú, yo, nosotros forms. They can change form for gender if they're not used with haber. We'll take a look at that later. Here are some irregular past participles, right? Hecho for hacer, dicho for decir, visto for ver, escrito for escribir, roto,
Marilyn,
broken.
your screen is only halfway on our screen.
Oh, it's only going, you cannot see it?
I see half of your screen of your whiteboard, but only half of it.
And it doesn't seem to be like what you're talking about, so.
Oh, let me try again. Gracias. Thank you for pointing that out. Let's try that again. This might be a little bit smaller. Actually, I got a different screen that'll have some of these too. Okay, mejor, better? See? Okay, vale. Bueno, so we've got hecho, dicho for decir, visto for ver, escrito for written. Yeah, we don't say righted. Yeah. Roto for broken. We don't say breaked. Puesto for put. That one is really, really very regular because poner, P-O-N, doesn't really appear in puesto, just the P part, puesto. Sí, vuelto for volver, resuelto, resuelto for solved, yeah. Satisfecho for satisfied, descubierto for discovered, muerto for dead, died. Había muerto, had died, yeah. Bien. Also, you've got another one, actually, there are a few others like abierto, open, abierto, right? But notice, there are a couple of ways that we're going to use these past participles. One is as a perfect tense. And when we have the perfect tense, it means we're using the participle together with the verb haber. And haber will either be present tense, has, ha, hemos, han, or imperfecto, había, habías, había, habíamos, habían. Okay, so it'll combine with haber. And that past participle does not change in form, only haber does. Okay. So some examples of that. He trabajado mucho hoy. Esta semana no hemos jugado. habíais hecho las camas, ustedes han hecho las camas, see? But it has a different job too. And this is where we get confused because whereas that hado, ido form stays constant, the same, if we use it with haber, it does not stay constant if it is used as an adjective. Okay? If a past participle is used to describe something, and that's how you know, if it is not paired up with haber, then it means it's describing something, right? It's telling you how something looked, sounded, felt. It's a description. And sometimes you'll commonly hear it combined with estar to do that because it's a changeable state. Sometimes you won't see estar with it. It'll just be attached to the end of the noun. Okay? But when this happens, when it's used as an adjective, that hado, ido form will change, but it will not change as a conjugation for yo, tú, nosotros. It will change as a masculine, feminine, singular, plural. Okay? So when these hado, ido forms are used as an adjective, they look to the noun they're talking about. And they take on that masculine or feminine, singular or plural form according to the noun. Okay, so sometimes está is kind of a trigger that will tell you that, right? Not haber, but está, right? It's not forming. Here the word, okay, por ejemplo, el armario está cerrado. The closet is closed. Okay, closed is describing the state closet is in. It's either open or closed, right? Could also be neat or messy, right? But in this case, open or closed. And because that is a state that changes, you open or close the door, however you feel, right? We use estar with it. So está cerrado. Cerrado is looking to that word armario to take its form. Okay. La puerta está cerrada. The door is closed. The word closed is describing door. And because puerta is feminine, we need to put cerrada into a feminine form. La puerta está cerrada. If we made it plural, that description word again needs to become plural. So, you know, these are functioning just like a regular adjective would. According to gender and according to number. Los armarios están cerrados. Las puertas parecen cerradas. Okay? So, the two forms you will commonly hear will be hado or ido as a description of a thing, and then it looks at gender and number, or combine it with haber, and then we just leave it in the hado form or the ido form. We don't change that part of it. Okay, so they follow two different rules depending on how you do it. I'm going to show you a third use of a participle, but this is not as common in speech. You will see it in written form if you read a book or a newspaper article, or por ejemplo, or for example, you're listening to a newscast. Passive voice means the subject is not doing the action. Passive voice means the subject is being acted upon. Something is being done to the subject. So instead of the subject and the verb, we've got a passive voice. Somebody is doing something to that subject we're talking about. So an example of that in English would be, he was shot by the police. The suspect was shot by the police. The suspect Well, he might have shot somebody eventually, but the suspect didn't do the shooting. He took the bullet. Okay? The suspect was shot. Was shot is what we call passive voice. Subject didn't do the shooting. Subject took the bullet. So that is called passive voice. Warning, warning, warning. Ojo, ojo, watch out. English language loves passive voice. English language is like addicted in an unhealthy way to passive voice. If you work in a big company that requires you to write reports, companies dislike too much passive voice because in English we tend to use it a lot. We overuse it. My husband has a program he has to run his reports through, and it will set off all kinds of tick, 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 tick warnings. Too much passive voice. Go in and change that. So even our companies, even our corporate overseers don't like us using too much passive voice, and we are addicted to it. We use it constantly. In Spanish, passive voice is not used in conversation very much. So we're not going to practice this a lot, but you will read it. But people will not use it when they chit chat back and forth. They will not. There's an alternative to it that we can talk about another time that is used a lot, but this is not it. But so that you know it is out there, besides the job of being an adjective, besides the job of pairing up with haber in a perfect tense, you may read passive voice like this, and then it often uses ser, not estar, but ser. La canción es cantada. The song is sung. The song didn't do anything, but it is sung. Some other person outside of the song does the singing, right? So the song doesn't actually do any of that action. Es cantada. In that sense, because it's passive voice, cantada, again, looks at the noun it's talking about and goes into the feminine, masculine, singular, plural form. Or, los edificios son construidos por la compañía. The buildings are built by the company. The buildings didn't take out a hammer and a drill and build anything. The buildings aren't building, they were built. And the agent that is outside of the buildings that actually did the work, that are called the agent, is la compañía. The company did the building to the structures. Yeah. So, bien. In English, when we encourage people to not overuse passive voice, we would encourage people to change this idea of los edificios son construidos por la compañía to something like this. La compañía construyó los edificios. The company built the buildings. La compañía construyó los edificios. In spoken Spanish, that active voice is encouraged. It's what you hear. La compañía construyó. The company built. That is the form you should strive for. So passive voice is out there. It does serve a purpose in more formal, I would say, writing. But in everyday speech, it's one of those things of kind of don't go there. Don't overuse. I would say avoid it if you can. Talk about whoever did the action, name that person or organization or thing, conjugate the verb. That's what you should do. Okay? Bien. So the first two uses of the participle with haber and as an adjective, those are blessed. They are okay. They are, in fact, good to do on a consistent basis. Bien. Okay. We're going to hear some examples. We're going to hear some examples before we go to practice because it helps to hear examples. Bum, 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 bum. Whoop. Vamos. Okay. A ver. And some of these examples are going to be kind of goofy. But you're going to notice something that even in these examples, they're going to mix up the participle with haber, and right next to it, you'll have a sentence mixed in that will not use haber, but will use the participle as an adjective. Okay, so they're going to mix them up because that's how people talk. Yeah, instead of isolating it. And this that you're going to hear here is kind of like water cooler talk. They're talking about a Halloween party. I know it's not the season for Halloween, but that estuvo is a past tense. And what they're asking was, hey, was the Halloween party fun? Right? And the party had not done or has not done anything. It's a description of Halloween, right? So you'll hear,
¿Estuvo divertida la fiesta de Halloween?
and the choice is because it's talking about fiesta, it's describing fiesta. We need not the masculine form, but the feminine form, right? Divertida.
Mucho. Qué pena que no viniste.
Qué pena que no viniste. What a shame you didn't come.
Me habría conocer a tus amigos Silvia y Alberto, pero tenía muchos pacientes ese día.
And we've got a form of haber. It's not the present, sadly. She is saying, I would have loved, not I have loved meeting them, not I had loved meeting them. Oh, I would have loved to have met them. And the would have still uses haber in a form you haven't maybe seen as much, habría, but it's still a form of haber. So now we're matching up haber with I would have loved. Do we need encantado or the other choice they've got is encantado. 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 Encantar is an AR verb, so we need an ado form.
Trabajas demasiado.
You work too much, he says.
Es verdad. ¿De qué fueron disfrazados tus amigos?
And this is a passive voice in a way. How were your friends dressed up?
Oh,
Disfrazar is to wear a costume.
mm.
Halloween party, you wear a costume, yeah. And disfrazar de, you get dressed up as something. They use de with that. De qué fueron? How were your friends dressed up? And we're talking about friends describing that they were in a costume. So do we want disfrazada or disfrazados to talk about amigos?
Disfrazados.
Disfrazados, right? We're not combining it with haber. It's fueron. How were they dressed up? We are describing that they were in costume. Disfrazados.
Alberto fue de fantasma.
Fantasma is a ghost. Alberto was disfrazada or disfrazado?
Mm.
Disfrazado.
Disfrazado. We're talking about Alberto.
¿Qué se puso?
What did he put on?
Llevaba una sábana sobre la cabeza, con 2 agujeros para los ojos.
He wore a sheet over his head with 2 holes for his eyes. And llevar puesto is to carry something on your body, meaning you wear it. Yeah. In Latin America, to say wear, they like to use llevar puesto because you have it put on you. Okay. And we're talking See? Oh, and this is actually important to know. Puesta is talking about what's put on. So actually what they're describing is that the sheet was put on his body. So this is kind of an odd
Puesta.
structure. So we're looking at sábana. So do we need puestos or puesta?
Puesta.
Puesta. If we said he had pants on, because pants is plural, it would be puestos. Llevaba puestos. But now because it's sábana, a sheet, which is a feminine thing, it'll be puesta. And that's what you heard him say. See?
¿Y Silvia?
Silvia fue de bruja.
Silvia was dressed up as a witch. So do we need disfrazado or disfrazada?
Disfrazada.
Disfrazada.
¿Con una escoba?
With a broom?
Sí, le había el disfraz su madre.
We've got haber. A form of haber. Somebody had made the costume. El disfraz is the costume itself. Her mom had made the costume for her. So before the party, and this is why it's an había,
Oh,
right? Somebody had to make that costume before the party. So we're pushing that made the costume further back into the past. Sí, le había
hecho.
hecho. And
Y
it's hecho
lleva-
because it's combined with había, right? So hecho doesn't go into a feminine form anymore. It just stays hecho, that one single form. Okay. And they're going to talk about like makeup on the face. Okay. Wearing something on your face, llevar again. I'm going to back that up a little bit.
¿Y llevaba la cara de verde?
Sí, como las brujas de los cuentos.
Did she have her face painted green? And he responds, oh, yeah, like witches in the stories.
Pintada.
Pintados or pintada?
Pintada.
Pintada. We're talking about la cara. They're describing the face, right? And a feminine thing, pintada.
¿Y tú, Luis? ¿De qué fuiste?
And you, Luis, how did you go?
Yo fui de zombie.
Fui de
Me
zombie.
puse una chaqueta y una camisa muy rotas y sombra de ojos negra.
Bien. Okay. I put on, and he's describing 2 pieces of clothing here. Chaqueta and camisa. And when we talk about something that's all ripped up, something that's ripped up, shredded, got holes in it, we'll use the verb romper to talk about that, So, me puse una chaqueta y una camisa, 2 things muy
Rotas.
rotas, because it's talking about 2 articles of clothing that are both feminine, chaqueta and camisa, rotas. I wore a ripped up jacket and a ripped up shirt. Y sombra, black
Habría
shadow, eyeshadow.
cualquier cosa por verte.
I would have given anything to see you. It's a would have. But we can see from habría, it looks like it comes from haber, yeah. It does come from haber. It's a conditional form. I would have given anything to see you. Do we need dido or dado?
Looks like
Dado.
dado.
Dado. And even though she's a girl and I would have given anything, we're combining haber with, right? When we pair it up with haber, it just goes into that form. I would have given anything to see it.
Por desgracia, nadie hizo fotos.
Sadly, nobody took any pictures.
¿Y cómo estaba la casa?
How was the house decorated?
Decorada.
Decorada. We're talking about la casa.
Había calabazas y esqueletos colgados del techo.
Colgar is to hang up. Yeah. There were pumpkins and skeletons. Calabazas are pumpkins, esqueletos, skeletons. They were hung from the ceiling.
Colgado.
Colgados, because we're talking about both calabazas and esqueletos. So we need a plural form. It's going to go into masculine plural because even though calabazas is feminine, esqueletos is masculine, and in Spanish, it's the machismo thing. The masculine form rules, right? If you got one masculine thing in there, it makes the whole group masculine. Colgados.
Oh, wait, there's an había, though.
Claro.
Oh, momento. Don't know if it will let me go back.
I thought maybe it went with the había,
Oh, it won't let
like
me go
I
back.
had hung.
Se me
It's
olvidó.
okay.
I forgot the exact thing. Yeah, I'll give you the link. You can go back and check it out.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Marilyn,
Típico
wouldn't
de...
it be the abia because you had then like the pumpkins and the skeletons after it? It's that abia is like
Oh, that
there
okay.
is-
Now I get
there
it. Now I get it. Había,
Yeah.
there were. We're not combining that había with a verb. Okay. So remember, había
Oh,
also
they have to
has
always go together.
había also has two jobs. Había is the where there was, there were. And the skeletons and the skeletons and the pumpkins did not hang stuff up. Había calabazas y esqueletos. There were pumpkins and okay, we're saying that había was not working with a second part.
Okay.
It's just saying these things existed
They were hanging,
in
basically.
at the party site. Yeah.
Okay.
But we're describing, so this is a thing. Sometimes these participles as adjectives might just follow the noun without estar. They might just follow the noun,
Okay.
right? Like saying, el hombre enojado entró en la oficina. The angry guy came in the room. El hombre enojado. Yeah, el hombre enojado just, yeah, it just follows. It describes the word man like that. Okay. I was forgetting the setup. See, había, there were. That use of haber was not paired up with the verb, the second part. Okay.
Halloween.
Además, los muebles estaban de polvo y telarañas. No sé cómo consiguió Silvia ese efecto.
Besides, the furniture, los muebles, the furniture was covered with dust and telarañas is cobwebs. Covered in dust and cobwebs. I don't know how Silvia I don't know how she managed to do all that stuff to create that look. Okay. But muebles were just estaban. We've got a description. Los muebles estaban
Mm,
Cubiertos.
cubiertos.
cubiertos. It's got to be a plural.
¡Qué detallista!
Oh, yeah, boy, is she detallista. It's talking about Celia who did the decoration. She had attention to detail.
Sí, Silvia lo es.
Yeah, Sylvia's that way.
También había la palabra Halloween en letras grandes con pintura roja en la pared.
Okay. And now we've got Avia right next to the blank. So before all the guests came, she had painted something on the walls. She had painted the word Halloween in great big letters with red paint on the wall. Había, we got escrito or escribido?
Escribido.
Escrito.
Uh-oh. This is one of the irregulars, escrito. Yeah, escribido, you would think makes sense, but this is one of the irregular
Okay.
participles, escrito, escrito.
¿Y comieron ustedes algo?
Sí, papas, croquetas y todo tipo de canapés.
Ah, bien. Did you guys eat anything? And oh yeah, he says French fries. Papas is the potato part.
Fritas.
Fritas.
Fritas, papas fritas, fries, fried potatoes, fries, croquetas, croquettes, see? Canapés would be all kinds of hors d'oeuvres. Fritas, because looking at papas.
¿De qué estaban hechas las croquetas?
De jamón y queso.
What were the croquetas made out of? Estaban, and we need a description. We don't have haber. We need a description for croquetas. ¿De qué estaban?
Hechas.
Hechas. We need a feminine and a plural form. Hechas.
Mis favoritas. Desde luego debí ir.
Te habrías de mucho.
You would have laughed a lot. Te habrías.
Reído.
If we're using reír, ha 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 ha, reído. Sí,
Seguro.
yeah, for sure.
Aunque a Alberto lo noto raro. Últimamente tiene los nervios deshechos. Le obsesionan los fantasmas. Figúrate.
Although Alberto, I noticed something was kind of odd about him. Lo noto raro is I noticed something odd about him. Lately, his nerves have been undone.
Mm.
And we're describing nervios.
Oh,
His nerves have been frazzled. We need, instead of done, undone, unraveling is desechos. He's obsessed with ghosts. Go figure, figúrate, go figure. Desechos. And
Alberto parece un caso psiquiátrico interesante.
and she's a shrink.
oh,
Desde luego, Natalia, estás de tu profesión.
Bien. Alberto seems like a really interesting psychiatric case. She's a psychologist. First, Natalia, you are in love with your profession. Enamorados to be in love, yeah? And he's describing how she feels. He's using estar. He's describing Natalia. So do we need enamorados or enamorada?
Enamorada. Enamorada.
Enamorada. He's describing Natalia.
Sí, pero no tanto como de ti.
Not as much as I'm in love
Me
with you.
tienes cautivada. Cuéntame más de Alberto.
Oh, but yeah, you've got me captivated. A pretty dramatic statement. Cautivada. Oh, you've got my attention.
Eres un caso. ¿Estás segura de que yo te intereso más que las obsesiones de mis amigos?
He's teasing her. It's a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. You're a lost cause. Un
Perdido.
caso. We're actually, even though he's describing her, the word lost is looking at the word caso, your lost case. We would say cause. Are you sure you're more interested in me than my friend's obsessions? Yeah. Okay. Well, lost cause is looking at the word caso, so we need
Perdido.
perdido. Perdido. Bien. Okay. I'm not going to get into more. That did a good mix in that it mixed up the two different uses. So you weren't just always using haber, you were sometimes using descriptions. And that's the way in real life that those will come up. It just is. Okay. Let's see. Let's see, first of all, if I've got the right file. Espero que sí. I hope so. I thought I had the right thing all set up and then. Sí. Okay. And I will be sending you this file, so don't like take furious notes, copious notes, because you don't need to. And it's going to like step you through all these bits we've talked about, okay? Participles that describe, and let's make this somewhat bigger so it's easier to read. And we'll have some practice here. And I show you how the two forms are, so you'll have this as a reference, yeah? When they describe people, they have to match the person or the thing they describe. Sometimes these ado or the feminine or plural forms might be paired up with estar to describe a state or a condition. They might be paired up with estar, not haber, but estar. Or they might be used with ser as a true passive voice, but you're not going to hear that a lot, yeah? The example of passive voice would be like this: La casa fue construida por Jack. The house was built by Jack, right? But we won't have too much emphasis on that. Okay, and then I give you some irregulars here that you can look at later. All right, so if we use to describe, cansado might become feminine, which would in that case be, just to see what does it sound like if it goes into a feminine form. Cansado, tired.
Cansada.
Cansada, right? It might be cansados, cansadas, plural. Enojado might be feminine.
Enojada.
Enojada or plural. Enojados, enojadas. Aburrido, bored, might become
Aburridos.
aburrida, right? Or aburrido. Cerrado
Cerrada.
might be cerrada, right? Might be cerrados, might be cerradas. Abierto, open.
Abierta.
Abierta, sí. La oficina está abierta, está abierta. Está abierta. La oficina is the office open. Construido might be
Construida.
construida. Emocionado, excited might be
Emocionada.
emocionada. Preparado could be
Preparada.
preparada. So you get the idea. You'll hear these feminine and plural forms that you see in the top bar if we use these participles to describe a person or a thing. Okay, vale. And let's look at some examples here. See, the desperate people, la gente desesperada. We're describing them. Los documentos olvidados, forgotten documents, right? La lengua hablada or el idioma hablado, the language spoken. En China, en Portugal, yeah? If we're using a description of, right, a country, it might go into more than one form. Bien, sí, los padres preocupados, the worried parents, los animales muertos, the dead animals, las ventanas abiertas, open windows. See, bien. So, you know, you might get a number of forms with these when they are used as adjectives. Okay. Oh, I have the shirt on. Tengo la camisa puesta. And that puesta looks at the word camisa to get its form. Tengo la camisa puesta. I have the shirt put on my body. Yeah, meaning I'm wearing something. Okay. A ver. So now the other instance or the other usage of participle will be with this haber. And this is what, you know, you have to be listening for that connection of a form of haber. All right. And it's got to be working right next to the verb. Okay. Haber has to be followed right away by the hado ido. They're not separated. Nora, the reason I was not connecting with that example you saw and you asked about,
Yeah.
había calabazas y esqueletos. There
See.
were, and then it's not connected to a verb, it's connected to things. So
That
that's
little
how we
video
know.
of the couple that you gave us,
Yeah.
say that
Yeah,
right
they're-
next to each other.
Right.
Yeah.
The haber was not meant to be connected to another second verb. It was talking to you about what was in
Right.
the room, how it was decorated. Yeah. So haber is got to be right next to. Okay. Remember those two things. When haber works with a participle, they have to be right next to each other, and nothing can come in between those two. Okay. So the nice thing about if it's used as a perfect tense, we always use the past participle in that hado or ido form. There is no gender. There is no plural. It's just that. So our examples are, todavía no he terminado mis quehaceres. I have still not finished my chores.
Oh.
Todavía no he terminado. I have not finished yet. I still haven't. Hemos viajado a Cancún muchas veces. We have traveled to Cancún many times. We have traveled. Mis padres, and we can put haber into past. Mis padres habían preparado todo. My parents had prepared everything. Cuando llegaron los invitados, when the guests came. Okay.
That'll be you, Marilyn.
Sí. Soy yo. Exacto. Entramos en el estadio a las 3. We got into the stadium at 3, pero el partido ya había empezado a las 2, but the game had already started or had already begun at 2. Yeah. So haber might be a past. It might be this. You saw in the little video clips. We can, you know, technically put it into conditional, into future, into lots of tenses. But most often you're going to hear the present, like this hemos viajado, or the he terminado, or this past, habían, sí, preparados, había empezado. Bien, okay. Let's see some practice with combining it with haber. I have written to my congressman. We need to use escribir. I have written, not I had, I have.
He escrito
Escrito
mi congresista.
a mi, and I gave you that, congresista, ¿sí? Escrito a mi congresista. Bien. Escrito. Escrito. We need that. Bien. Okay. We have eaten at that restaurant many times. Well, we can recommend that one. We have eaten there many times.
Hemos comido a ese restaurante muchas veces.
En ese restaurante muchas veces. Bien, sí. Vale, bueno. I
A
have,
question.
sí,
Is-
sí, sí.
Amos is the present tense conjugation of haber, correct?
Hemos,
Yes.
hemos is for we, yeah.
But and that's present tense? Or the conjugation of haber there is what in what tense?
The conjugation of haber is hemos.
But is that present tense or
Sí, presente. Sí, 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 sí. Presente, yeah. Even though it's talking about something in the past, it is a present conjugation of.
I thought it would be
if-
should be imperfect, but
If
no.
okay, now it would be grammatically correct to phrase this as habíamos comido, habíamos. It would make perfect sense, but then it would mean we had eaten. Had, had.
Okay.
¿Sí? ¿Entiendes?
Yes.
See,
Sí.
yeah. So that's a very slight difference, but it pushes it further back in the past if we say habíamos, right?
Okay.
Bien. Okay. A ver. I have not seen my cousin in years. Not I have not seen my cousin in years.
No he visto a mi
No
primo.
he visto. And what do we need for a human being when they receive that action of?
A
No he visto a mi
primo.
primo.
Hace años.
Sí. En muchos años. Oh, perdón. I need to get my other keyboard. Disappeared. En años. Keeps popping me out. Let's try it one more time. En años. Ok. A ver. Bien. Sí, 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 sí. A ver, a ver, a ver. Uy, no. Didn't want to do that. Bien. Ok. A ver. Decir. And decir is going to have a very odd, irregular thing. It won't be decido. He had told me the address, but I forgot it. So the first thing he did was he told me in the address, and then I went and forgot it. So the earliest thing is that he had told me. And I'll help you out a little bit. We need a me in here.
Me ha dicho?
And instead of it'll be he had told me. Él me
Había
había dicho, ¿sí? La dirección. Él me había dicho la dirección, pero
lo olvidó.
Lo olvidé.
lo olvidé.
Oh, lo olvidé.
Or if you want to be really accidental about it, like not my fault, it would be se me olvidó. It went and forgot
Mhm.
itself on me, but either one of those is okay, really. It's kind of a turn of phrase to like say I forgot as the it's not my fault, which would be the se me olvidó. I didn't mean to, yeah. Me había dicho, but we're focusing on here. Me había dicho, he had told, and the to me is the me part, yeah. Me había dicho la dirección. Okay, a ver, bien. We had already reserved a room. We had already reserved a room.
Mhm.
Habíamos reservado
Ya habíamos reservado
un
una
cuarto.
habitación,
Mm.
una habitación cuando, when we saw the ad, cuando
Vimos.
vimos, sí, el anuncio de Airbnb. No hay traducción, Airbnb, ¿sí? Cuando vimos, ¿sí? Ya habíamos reservado. Bien, ya habíamos reservado a una habitación cuando vimos el anuncio en Airbnb. And before vimos, we saw, before we saw this, we already have made something on the reservation. We had already booked something. Habíamos reservado, ¿sí? How about they had bought 2 tickets? Ellos
Habían comprado
habían,
dos
sí.
entradas.
Vamos a, sí, ellos habían comprado 2 boletos antes de llegar a la estación de tren.
Ah,
Bien, ¿sí? Habían comprado. So these are all with haber. These are all with haber, right? So we don't change the escrito into a different form. He escrito. Hemos comido. No he visto. Me había dicho. Ya habíamos reservado, ¿sí? Ellos habían comprado. Okay. No changes needed, right?
Question on
Sí,
that
sí.
last sentence that you did on that screen. And
Sí,
you
sí.
don't conjugate llegar because it's after a preposition, correct?
Right,
that's what I was wondering too.
right. Now, I could say antes de que llegaran a la estación de tren. This could be expressed as antes de llegar, before getting there, because they were the ones who got there. You could also kind of phrase that, or well, not kind of, but you could also phrase that antes de que. If we stick in a que, then I need a subjunctive. That's the problem, because the past subjunctive is the problem. Antes de que llegaran a la estación de tren. See? So there are 2 ways of saying that. The easier of the 2, because they are the ones who got there. There's really no change in subject, so I don't really need to do any conjugating stuff with that second part, because we know we're talking still about them doing the arrival. Yeah, see? So yeah, because it's a verb following a preposition, the word de, en, a, con are prepositions, then we're good with just leaving it as an infinitive. See? Bien? Okay. Vale. All right, let's take a look. Let's see when we look at the noun, not when we combine it with haber, but when we look at the noun for the form we need. The tired kids. need to go to bed right away. And we need to do something with that cansar idea to change it into a form that describes the kids.
Los niños cansados. Yeah, cansados necesitan ir a la cama.
Yeah, and there's an easier way than ir a la cama. Necesitan acostarse.
Mm.
See? And right away is ahorita. It could be inmediatamente. Yeah, could be anything that means right away. See? We're going to talk about retired guys. We're going to take jubilar. We're going to change jubilar into a form to talk about the guys. Los hombres,
Jubilos?
jubilados.
Oh,
We could even, to make it shorter, completely get rid of this noun and just say los jubilados. We could
Okay.
even do that. Los jubilados, and they play. We're talking about what they do.
Juegan.
Juegan, ¿sí? En una liga de béisbol. Okay, we're going to look at casar, to marry. Yeah. My granddaughter is married. Mi nieta,
Es casada?
es
Está, maybe.
we're talking about nieta, so that form of casar needs to be,
Casada?
yeah. But here it's really kind of, we're talking about her state. Está
Hopefully it's
casada.
not changeable, but
She is married. Now, just so you know, para que sepan, mi nieta es casada is possible, but then it's a really slight thing. Es casada, she's a married woman. She is a woman. She is a married woman, but just she's married, está casada. It's her state. Interesting that married and dead and alive are all states. Yeah. Bien. Okay. Preparar. We're going to do something with preparar. The hotel room is prepared. It's already prepared by 3 o'clock. Well, let's say by 3 o'clock, because that's really kind of more of our idea here. And let's call it la habitación del hotel.
Está preparada por las 3 de tarde.
Para las 3.
Para
las 3 indicates that's a deadline. That's the first hour you can get in. Yeah. Para las 3. Para las 3. Okay. We're going to take ocupar. Ocupar. Busy. Yeah. All the agents are busy. Todos los agentes are busy. We're going to take ocupar.
Ocupados?
Están
Ocupados.
ocupados. Ocupados. Están ocupados. Okay. Bien. The special dishes are served by the chef. He comes out to do it. This is a passive voice, so I'm going to help you with this one a little bit. Los platos especiales. Let's call them las especialidades. Let's call them that because those are the specialties. Las especialidades. Son. Here we're going to need a son because it's a true passive voice, because the specialties don't serve anything, right? They're served by the chef. Son, and we're going to need to do something with that word, servir, to describe especialidades.
Servidas.
Well, servido would be one of them and a masculine, and we're looking at las especialidades.
I think it'd be servidas.
Servidas por el chef. Okay, por el chef. That's a true passive voice, and we only did one of the. Oh, actually, no, I lied. We mentí. We got two of them. The city was destroyed by the hurricane. Okay, the hurricane actually did the destroying, so this is going to be a true passive voice. This is something you would read. La ciudad fue destroyed. Destruir. What do we do with that?
Destruida.
Destruida. And now we need to tell the agent who actually did that action of destruction. Sí, por el huracán. Por el huracán. Bien? Sí?
Bien.
So we mixed in a few of these. I still have one hangnail there. Oh, yeah. Well, anyway. But you see that destruida looks to la ciudad, right? Servidas looks to las especialidades, right? Ocupados has to look at los agentes, right? Preparada needs to look at habitación. Those are all in some fashion describing a thing or a human being, which is why they go into those forms. I think that is harder to do than combining it with haber. Am I right? For most people.
More to think
See?
of.
Yeah, because you've got to be doing the mental gymnastics, yeah, which we don't do in English at all. So for that reason, it becomes kind of a complicated thing. I think I am going to send you. Oh no, I'm not going to send you that practice because actually it's kind of difficult practice. I'm going to even take that off the list. Okay, bien. We're right up until the hour. We did not get time to look at our video, but I'm assuming it was kind of an easy video for you to listen to. See the third place thing she was talking about, city things. I am going to send you a video for listening offline, listening just over the 2-week period. Actually, I've got a couple I'm debating on. One is longer. Would you like a longer one since it's a 2-week time? Yeah,
Sure.
Longer one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Longer one, it's more of a podcast conversation between two people kind of thing. But it does have, you can set up subtitles for sure. They're going to be comparing two cities, their experiences in two cities, para que sepan so that you know. And it'll be a good listening drill to do for your 2-week hiatus period. Okay, todo listo. ¿Sí? ¿Bien?
Bien.
Bien,
Gracias.
fantástico. Gracias por participar. Thank you for
Yes.
participating. Have a
Muchas
very nice
gracias.
2 weeks off.
Enjoy your company.
I hope we do. It will be interesting. I've not hosted this many people in 20 years, not this many all at the same time. It will be
Oh,
interesting. Yeah,
it'll be
there we go.
great.
Sí, bien.